We did it. Ladies and germs, we did it. 2 streams in a week. And today is gross up here. It's so hot. I don't know why. When will it end? It is gross. I did a temp check earlier today and we reached 33 degrees in the loft. Can you believe it? A lovely, lovely, humid day. Still no rain in sight. Had yellow warning of a thunderstorm all day. Ugh. It's got to end soon, right? So, as a consequence of it being as minging as it has been, this is how far we've got with Red the Moor. Red the Moor. So we're on the way. The cauldron is at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, and I think what we're going to do today is we're going to try and get a little bit more, try and get some more done on this, rather than try and, whilst it's as hot as it is, try and do like Red and the Acolytes and the Gorger. That's a meaty stew. Oh yeah, that's what we're going for. There you go. Looks appropriately grim. So yeah. The Hunters of Saberfangs are done. The Cleavers are done. The Butcher is done. So that's 3 videos. Anyway, you can get a space/window AC in the loft. No! There is no way. It doesn't do anything. It does not do anything. There is... I can't install anything permanent because I don't own this place. This is a rented accommodation, so we're not allowed to do that. The one AC unit that we have is really, really effective in rooms that actively can be cooled. This room cannot. It is a heat trap for the rest of the building. So you turn the AC on up here, turn it off, immediately 44 degrees again. For example, it's immediately the same heat. It doesn't condition the air. It's just a cold fan at that point. So at that point, you might as well just have a cold fan that you sit in front of. You see what I mean? It's entirely useless up here. What I have often likened it to has been that it's been a bit like it's a bit like setting your oven to the maximum temperature and then using an aircon to try and get the temperature you actually want, rather than using the dial to set it to 250. Instead, you're setting it to 350 and going, right, now the aircon will cool it down to 250 or whatever. Is basically the vibe up here. It's just it's a losing battle. Welcome to Florida, 9 months out of the year. Well, and one of the many reasons I don't live in a place like Florida is because this is untenable as a place. I also, don't have the money to emigrate, nor do I want to. But yeah, can I have a bowl of that stew? I'm not sure you'd want a bowl of that stew. I think that stew would make you very ill. NP, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. My goodness me, that's incredibly generous of you, straight off the bat. Help for getting something to help with the heat. My place is the same. I just burn money trying to cool my office in the top floor. You're an individual after my own heart. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much. I will put that towards the aircon fund for the new studio when we build it in the house that we're trying to move to. That's where that'll go. If you're okay with that. Because we're going to install when we build the studio. I'm going to build it. I'm going to have aircon installed in it that actually works. You see, it's like proper the bee's knees, so that Alice and I can sleep out there during the summer, and also that I can work all the year round. That's the plan. That is the intention. Is it hot because Red the Moor is cooking? Could be. Could well be. You'd have to ask the environment. So, where are we going to start with this? I keep looking at it and I keep thinking, look, I think there's a lot of dry brushing that can be done here, and I don't think it matters too much if it overlaps a little bit here and there. But I'm not entirely sure as to my plan here. I know that I do need to do some dry brushing, and you know, we tend to try and like cut corners where possible. I just noticed I missed a tiny little bit. So now that's been sorted. There we go. How's the gore in the pot been done? It has been done with paint. It has been done by applying Flesh Terror's Red, Gilliman Flesh, Skeleton Horde, and then a slightly thinned down Blood for the Blood God. Which is how we've done it on all the other blood, across all the other videos. So there's 3 videos coming with lots of blood. Lots and lots of... Josh used real blood. Yeah, why not? I keep cutting my legs. I might as well store it. I don't know how I keep cutting my legs, but I do keep cutting my legs. Hello, name is long enough to be annoying. How are you? I've got a butcher and a cleaver champion with a pot of his own on the way, so I wanted to get a taste. Well, you'll be able to see. You'll be able to see. That video, I think we could probably do the butcher tomorrow. Or, yeah, we could do the butcher tomorrow. Saberfangs, cleavers, and Red the Moor coming soon, maybe? Don't know. Okay. I think... Any rain today? No. No, my friend, it is swelteringly hot up here, unfortunately. It is still gross. Did a road get primed? It did get primed. I primed the road. I primed some Sanguinary Guard, because I'm going, I think, to the Epsom tournament in a week and a half's time. And I primed a couple of other bits. So very exciting. All cool things happening. Warhipster, please let me send you a Glockin to make a tutorial on. I don't want you to waste your money, my friend. I really don't. Because if you spend money on a Glockin for me to paint, it won't happen for a while. Save your cash. Save your cash. Save your cash. I know what I'm going to do. So next up, what we're going to do on the big pot is we're going to now sort of try and get it to the next level. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking some Fire Dragon Bright. And we're going to thin it down with roughly 4 or 5 parts water to 1 part Fire Dragon Bright. And in those hot coals under here, where we applied the Blood Angels Red and the Black Legion is we're going to try and drop some of this in some of the gaps here and there. Just like that. Doesn't have to be all of them, but enough to give it a sort of slightly sort of smouldering, fiery look. Ugh. Lovely. How are you feeling about Gargant content? Presuming it gets sent. Oh, don't know. Is Gargant content something you would like more of? I'd like to paint it if they send it to me. Tell you what I don't want to do, though, if they do send it to me. I don't want to paint it in this heat. That would be grim. Given as we have to, like, you know, do, like, lots of soft skin and probably a lot of thin down paint. My wet palette arrived today. Good evening, codpiece. I presume the recipe used for Red's Acolytes will do as a nice substitute for the Gutseers. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Do you have gut rot spume in your pile? I do not. I do not have gut rot spume in my pile. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Alright, what next? Where do we go? Hi-ho, silver. Jack Stringer with a £10 super chat. You absolute legend. Counting the hours until I finish work. My 3,000 point Space Wolf army got delivered today, so that's my night sorted building them. Just one night. That is incredibly impressive. I couldn't do that in one night. I'm playing Breath of the Wild at the moment. It's a shame I can't make you a cooling elixir. Oh, God. That would be the dream. There we go. It's alright. Look at that. It's a subtle detail. But I think it adds a little something something. Okay. So, the next job, I think, is to dry brush all the wood. But here's my question, is what is the colour we're going to dry brush all the wood with? Because it is quite a warm wood. But do we keep it dark? Like, is Catachan flesh too dark? Yeah. It's a little too dark. But maybe Blood Reaver flesh could work. My God, I think he's got it. Let's go for it. Just take some jelly you find in grass and mix it with a blue dragonfly. Very good. Right, let's try this. I think this is the one. So, let's turn that off. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Blood Reaver flesh and we're going to apply the dry brush over the top of all of our dark wood. So this isn't going to be really that impactful, but what it will do is it will keep it sort of nice and dark whilst adding just a little bit of warmth into it, and also just raise up the little bits that we want to have a little bit of brightness over the top of the recesses. I'm a genius. The new Ogre Centerpiece models base is kind of bare. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That is a very good point. I personally think it's a really good thing, and I'll tell you why. Because it gives you, because it's kind of like a diorama because of the way it exists, it gives you as the hobbyist the opportunity to make that base more interesting than it actually currently is, whilst also providing enough space for you to make all the models breathe. That's one of the really good things about it, is that it's much more kind of heavily customizable than certain other bases. They could have gone for a full sculpted thing, like they did with like the Triumph of St. Catherine, which I think is probably its closest comparison. But the Triumph of St. Catherine is a very kind of claustrophobic model, and so the difference is there that the Triumph of St. Catherine does not have space for you to do anything. So what they've then done is they've sculpted a full base with it. So this being the way it is, it does feel like it's really bare and empty, but if you're a better hobbyist than I, it gives you capacity to do something really interesting with the base. But if you're rubbish like me, you don't then do anything interesting with the base, if you see what I mean. You never kit bash some crazy base for a model? No. No. Ugh. That sounds awful to me. I try and spend as little of my time basing as I possibly can. You see. That's what I mean by I'm a bad hobbyist in that regard. Okay, so with that then done, what we want to do next is we want to take Karak stone. A few grass tufts is the height of my imagination. You're a man after my own heart, Jack. How would you paint the saber fangs if you're doing them in the box art style? I know you've gone for a blue theme, but I'd like to match the rest of my army using the colours from your other guides I've used. That is a good question. If you leave it with me just for a moment, I will go back and look through the archive, because I'm pretty sure there's a Griff Hound or something somewhere which is basically the same colours. I think it's probably on one of the Stormcast characters. It might be on either the... it's not going to be the Griff Crow, but it's likely to be on the Lord something or other from Dominion. I've definitely done it, though. It's there somewhere. Let me do this, and then we'll head to the archive. But I've definitely got an example of that sort of style of saber fang type thing. With all that Blood Reaver flesh dry brush applied, what we then do is we take some Karak stone, and we want to very gently hit the rivets like this. And what we also want to do here with the Karak stone is we want to dry brush the large tusks. Got tufts on the brain. And we're also going to use this to dry brush the wood of the staff and the cleaver. And if you're feeling really fancy, on the top of these we can do the heartwood by just stippling the Karak stone like that over the top. Boom. Get that fan back on. Oh. You barely feel the benefit, but at least there's something. There's at least something moving air around in here. You know. Anyway, guys, how are you getting on? Are you enjoying your day? Are you enjoying your week? Are you happy that we've had 2 Warhipster streams in a week? That we're trying to get back to a sense of normalcy in spite of this horrible hot weather that we've constantly plagued by for the rest of our lives? If so, please do consider hitting a like on the video and the stream. That would be immensely helpful, because that is the free way to support the channel. Helps other people find it, you know. And if other people find it, then the channel grows. And if the channel grows to such a size that we constantly have people watching all of the videos all of the time, it means I never have to ask you once again if you'd like to support the channel a little bit further. You can, of course, do as a couple of people have already done tonight very generously. Hit a super chat. Or you can become a member of the channel. Or hope that somebody gives you a member to the channel. And you can come and join us in the Discord, where lots of extremely talented people, more so than myself on many occasions, chat away and offer some great support to this wonderful burgeoning community that we have. Look at that, such a professional. If only I was called Leon, eh? Little. No bribes from me today, unfortunately. You did a lot of bribing on Monday. It was very, very generous of you. You're a legend. Yes, have missed the streams. Nice. I'm glad. Well, I'm not glad you missed them. I wish I could do this all day, every day. And like I said, when we move and we have the new studio, we will do this every week. There will be no reason to miss them unless I am not here doing something else. Right, I think we do the next job, which I think, and I'd be interested to see what your opinion on this is, guys, but the rim of the pot is definitely black, right, in the box art, but there is an element of metallic to it. Just a little bit, not too much. Now, here's the big question. Do we dry brush now the black with Iron Warriors or Lead Belcher? I've typically used Lead Belcher, but I wonder if that might be a little bit too bright. Because we need to highlight the sort of intestinal trim around the outside, and we're just going to do that with Ironbreaker. But the pot itself could do with just a little something something. I'm inclined to go with Lead Belcher. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Whilst we wait on that decision, I think what we can probably do is use some Morghast bone to highlight the little tusks. Which feels sensible. It might not be, but it feels sensible. Because I like Morghast bone. It's already pretty dark as well. So what you're saying is the new place will have Josh Cam, a 24/7 tracking camera through your whole house, so we can live the life of the hipster. I'm not saying that, but I'm not opposed to that. We have to get Alice to sign a lot of release forms. There are a lot of people who nowadays, because YouTube has made it a little bit easier for you to do, there are a lot of people now who have taken to like setting up like either separate channels or on their channel permanently having it live streaming old content. And I've always thought about doing that, but at the same time, I think my content is so, like, evergreen. I don't have to kind of put it on a stream like that in order to get you guys to watch it, as it were. Because if you want a video from my back catalogue, you can just go and get it, if you see what I mean. It's just there. So, like, having it on a 24/7 stream doesn't, I think, really do much for the experience. Let's go like that, and let's go like this, and let's turn that off, and let's go like this. So with that all done, just hitting pause on dry brushing just for the minute, what we're going to do next is we're going to take some thinned down Morghast bone, and we're going to use this to highlight these little horns here by just doing lots of long lines that go all the way from the base to the tip. Evergreen unless you were just squatted. Well, yeah, that was also true. Rest in peace, old Dante model. You know, there are times when I'm painting these big models where I really wish I was ambidextrous. And then I go, well, hold on. If you were ambidextrous, that would not be fair on you guys watching if I just swapped hands to do the same thing. How far behind on models painting are you now, Josh? Oh, many hundreds. Many hundreds. I mean, that's nothing new, but like this year alone, I've had struggles. Are the Kassakin in your to-do list at all? Yes. I just realised we're on that camera. We should be on that camera. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's like the idea of trying to do a model left-handed. Which I've thought about in the past because, like, let's say, like, the worst. If something terrible happened to me, think about it. Was the Griff Chargers on the Stormcast Chariot? Yeah, I mean, that would work. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go to the channel. Let's have a look. Let's have a little looky shoot. First you take a chickie. I have a lot of Stormcast content. Ah, Lord Imperatant with Griffhound. That's the one you want. That's what I was thinking. So between the Griff Chargers on the Stormstrike Chariot, there's also the Stormstrike Paladors. There's a couple of really cool ones in there, which I think are close as well. There's this one as well. Do you plan on doing another camera, dry or wet palette on this or new office in the future? Yeah, look, this is one of those things of, like, if I could have a 3-camera setup, I would have a 3-camera setup. Now, the thing to bear in mind is I have to be able to control it all easily and for it to all make sense as we're going. At the moment, there is nowhere that a camera could go that wouldn't make it impossible. So, like, if I put a camera here over the top of my palette, the light would be blocked, so it would just be in shadow and it would look awful. I can't put a camera up here. I can't put a camera here because that's where there's a thing there. You can hear it. There's a Kallax there, and I would need a long lens, and it would have to come across my body if it was over here to be there like that. So yeah, we don't have the space to do a 3-camera setup. But I would like to have a 3-camera setup, because if I have a 3-camera setup, I can then use the 3-camera setup for the battle reports and a much larger desk. But yeah, as it stands right now, like, I don't have the capacity or the space to do it. Bile Predator be looking scared. Yeah, well, yeah. It's been long. Ever since I'm surprised it survived because the Gladiator Reaper exists. Part of me thinks they are imminently about to announce a new tank of some description. I think the Space Marine announcement will be particularly feels bad if this run of multi-part plastic kits that's coming as a support of Armageddon is small and pathetic. So, like, if it's multi-part Outriders, multi-part Vanguard Veterans, and a bike captain, and that Ultramarines left champion guy, if that's it, I think it'll feel pretty feels bad. I think that's the only things they've previewed, isn't it? if there's a couple of other things or a number of other really cool things that they also announce, I think that helps kind of takes the sting out of things a little bit. Is this an unusual length of time before we get things like a standalone land speeder? Well, see, I don't think you're going to get a standalone land speeder. I think you're just going to get this one in its own box, but it'll include a flight stand. Because there's no other options for it, if you see what I mean. Any office tour videos in the future? When we move, 100%. Not here. I don't need to show you a video where there's just stacks of brown boxes. When I was in high school, I broke my right hand and had to learn to write with my offhand until the cast came off. The hardest part was stamina. I needed to take breaks when my hand cramped. My writing quality got pretty good quickly, but if I kept doing it, I'm sure the muscles would have built up. It wouldn't have been a problem. Yeah, I think doing like painting a model left-handed. I think if I tried to do it over like do a left-handed army, I think by the end of the army, I think I would start to look good. But the previous all of that time waiting, it would take a little while. It is, to go back to your question though, Martin, it is a little unusual that it's taken this long for 2 codexes to come out. Normally, I think you would be looking at Space Marines in September, but I think the article or the video says it will be in October, which is surprising because usually by this point you would have had both the lead-ins, which was Orcs and Space Marines, by at least the end of September. And October, you would be looking at 1 or 2 early codexes that are only getting a single model. So, like, for example, if it was the Custodes, getting a new Legio Custodes shield captain, but with a halberd, and, like, I don't know, Tau getting a new Ethereal, you know? Brown boxes with new orcs in them. I don't have them. I do not have them. They did not send me the new orcs. I will have to pick up Nazdreg at a later date and do him. So glad I don't play Space Marines. This is the thing that I think I have learned to my detriment, which, honestly, in my position, I can't really sit here and complain, right? So I'm not going to. But the thing I've learned, as a consequence of this, and as a consequence of the things that have happened to my beloved Blood Angels over the last 3 years, is 3 years? 3 editions. 2 editions. Yeah, 9th and 10th. What it has taught me is that there is a lot more value to this hobby in not having 10,000 points of a single faction. Because as it stands, since 9th edition, my Blood Angels have lost 45 Death Company, Brother Corbulo, the old Lamatis, Asterath, and Dante, which have been replaced. I've lost 4 Razorbacks. Now 40 Tactical Marines. 3 Suppressors. Which is not a huge amount, but like still, it's another thing. And there were some other things as well that have gone. That now they sit upon the shelf forever. Yeah. Oh, my old Vanguard Veterans and my old Stern Guard as well. I do have 10 Assault Terminators with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields. I don't actually see a problem in keeping them. Still on the same size bases. They're Blood Angels Terminators. They look so much better than current Terminators. Even if the current Terminators are... the new Terminators are much taller. The Blood Angels Terminators are just so gorgeous that it's like, yeah, I think you can forgive them being a little shorter. But yeah, so what I've learned is, for me, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I keep my collections and my armies somewhat narrow. And so, like, for example, instead of having 10,000 points of Hallowed Knights, for example, I am only shooting for about 2,000, maybe 2,500. Same for my... And then once I've done that, I'll be like, right, cool, start the next thing. right? So that what then happens in the event of, say, next edition, they were to get rid of, like, Outriders, for example, which would be weird, but let's just say that for a moment. If they got rid of Outriders, it would mean that my White Scars that I'm hoping to do lose... I lose a chunk of my White Scars, but I don't lose a chunk of my favourite big collection. You see what I mean? So that's kind of the vibe that's the personal lesson I've learned. And the reason I say I'm not going to complain too much is I would complain on behalf of the other people that are really upset by it. But for me personally, it's like, well, Games Workshop sends me free samples of stuff. So it's not like I'm lacking for models, you know? It's a bit rich for me to sit here and be like, this is outrageous and unacceptable on my behalf. I don't think it is. I think for people who are upset by it, though, it sucks. But it doesn't affect me too much, as it were. This is GW's way of getting people to buy the new models with more price hikes incoming. It's greed on their part. There's a certain degree of that, I'm sure. Look, the other part of it as well, as I often have been reminded when it comes to my Blood Angels, is I still have them. You know, no one's come to my house and reclaimed them because you're not allowed to use them anymore. I'm not allowed to use them at big events, you know? But I can still use them in my private engagement with Warhammer. So if I want to play a game against a friend and we want to use Legends, I can still use them. And I think for a lot of people who are I would say, silent majority who aren't engaged with the internet when it comes to Warhammer, it doesn't matter. The first a lot of people will find out is when they go into their local Games Workshop and there isn't Vindicators or Predators on the shelf anymore. They'll be like, well, hold on, what happened to those? And say, oh, we discontinued them. That'll be the first time a lot of people will find out, which is surprising, I think, to a lot of people. But that is how a lot of people find things out, because they're not all on Warhammer Community and they're not all on the internet. They're not watching videos. They're not subscribed to YouTube channels. They're not watching battle reports. They're not doing that kind of thing. They are just enjoying Warhammer in their own private world. And there's a lot more people that do that than you think there is. As I've said in the past, my experience of working in the Games Workshop shop is you would see people who would turn up. You would see people who have been hobbyists for 20, 25 years. They go into Games Workshop maybe once a year and pick up some bits, and then you don't see them again because they just go back to their little group or whatever. And it's just those four guys that play in a garage every Friday. They have done since they were teenagers. There's a lot more of that than people think there is. So, like, in the context of we're not selling tactical marines anymore and you can't use them at tournaments, it sucks for that group of people. And that group of people is a sizable chunk, but it's not the majority of Warhammer. You work for GW? I did, yes, for I think it was 8 months, nearly 10 years ago. I worked in the retail. I worked at the Banbury Games Workshop. I was the manager of the store. And I left because my expenses were not being covered by my salary, basically. Which was because I was in a bit of a tight place at the time. So I ended up going back to my career, which was L&D HR, to pay off debt, basically. I wouldn't have left otherwise. I'd have stayed on, but I had to pay off debt, so I went and got a job that paid a lot more. I wanted to paint Tactical Squad and Predator because I started 1 or 2 years ago with painting. Now it's almost FOMO of getting them before they disappear from shelves. Well, you'll be able to get them for years to come from eBay or whatever. And like, maybe not Predators. Well, yeah, Predators for sure. But like in this house alone, I know that there's a box which has got 60 unbuilt Tactical Marines. So I can sort you out. Yeah. Yeah. God, I hadn't even realised it was... It will be 10 years ago next year, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, that would make sense in the timeline of Josh. Okay. Lead Belcher. That's what we need to do next. It's there. It was a fun job. I liked it. I liked working in the store. It was nice. And like I said, I'd got myself into some personal financial trouble, and like my store was in Banbury and I was living in Leamington Spa, which meant I was spending a lot of money on transit, and I wasn't doing enough to cover the transit, my living expenses, and various other things that I was paying for at the time. So before things got out of hand, I needed to get a job that had a much bigger salary, which is what I then ended up doing because I was like, I can't do this. So yeah, it was a fun time. Let's do this. So with that all done, it is now back to Metallic Town. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some Lead Belcher. I'm going to use this to dry brush the pot here, and we're also going to use this to dry brush the black metal. So that's the rim of the pot, the base of the cauldron, and these kind of bits holding in our large tusks. And we're back. I wonder if scalpers will jump to the occasion and buy them all out. I don't think it would be worth it for a scalper, honestly. I think the thing with the thing to remember with like tactical marines and predators and things like that, like people like myself, as I said, I've got 60 that are sat on sprues in this house somewhere. So I don't ever need to buy any ever again. And I've painted 40 for my army. So I can take it to 100, and I've got an entire battle company of tactical marines, should I so desire to have done that. And that was originally the plan. But things got in the way, that being all the new stuff. And this is where I circle back to, like, I don't think it's the end of the world when the older kits go. If Games Workshop then brings out new stuff that goes, hey, look at how great this new stuff is. What I don't like is when they go, hey, not only have we got rid of your stuff, we're not going to replace it with anything that is anywhere near as cool. What we're going to do is we're just going to do the same thing again, but slightly bigger. You know, I am a fan of new models versus digital remasters, which is what I keep calling them. I'll come to visit when I come to England. Nice. I do also have 3 Bile Predators on sprue. And I've often thought about, oh, I should do those at some point. And now I think, I don't know if the Bile Predator is going to survive that long. So now I'm like, I'll just hold on to those. And then in 10, 15 years' time, when I meet somebody who's like, do you know what? I always wanted the Bile Predator, but it went before I ever got my chance to have one. I'll be like, ah ha 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 ha, sir. Step right this way, for I have many of the Bile Predator for you. So yeah, I've got, the weather should cool off now, dude. I've got storms in Wiltshire. You're not far away from me. In Wiltshire. Whereabouts in Wiltshire are you from? Or whereabouts in Wiltshire do you live? You don't have to give me your address, but... Whereabouts? 40k the old world. Well, so this is the other thing, right? Is that people are talking about there being some sort of scouring game. And scouring game would make sense if you're trying to keep the sort of Horus Heresy alive, and also you want to have a crack at redoing like the Mark 7 and redoing like the modern Predator and the Boxnaut and stuff. And you can re-release those models and just do the scouring, or do like, you know, the time afterwards, or whatever you want to call it. And you can launch 40k to being in like the 45th millennium. You wouldn't call it Warhammer 45k. You just keep calling it Warhammer 40k. But you can do that if you so desire, which then means that your collection becomes validated again. And that is one of the things, the pieces of advice I would give to a lot of people who maybe are considering getting rid of their older models, is that the old world came back, and there's a lot of people who feel a little bit silly for having burned their entire collections in protest of Age of Sigmar. You see what I mean? So it's like, all these things are cyclical. They come back around. It might be that they're not in the game that you're currently playing, but it might be that they return in a slightly different format in a different game, which I think is actually quite an exciting prospect. Trowbridge. Oh boy. That is not far away from where we're planning to move, my buddy. I won't say where yet, because we still haven't got there, but so if you're in, that is really not that far away. That means there's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. You and your friends better batten down the hatchets, to quote the worst of the Dark Knight trilogy. And I don't think that shot's fired. I think we could get away with dry brushing the rest of this silver with some Ironbreaker, you know. I feel like having done that once now. I was Amesbury. Nice. I don't think I've ever been to Amesbury. I've travelled all over this country, but I don't think that's one of those places. Was it nice? Did you enjoy your time there? Always been a London lad. I was a London lad for a long time. I lived in London from 2012 to 2017, where I then left and I moved to Leamington Spa, which is where I then ended up working at Games Workshop in Banbury. Then I moved back to London for 6 months, because of the aforementioned needing to pay off money situation. And then after that I moved back to Cheltenham because life had gotten too much and I needed to have a slight breakdown. Just a mild one, but a breakdown nonetheless. Needed to happen. Occasionally happens to us all. If you haven't ever had one, but you feel like you should have had one, trust me, recommend it if you can do it safely. Have a little breakdown, so good. Always do it safely. And then after Cheltenham, I moved back to London for a year, where I lived in Croydon, worked at a law firm. And then, after that, moved to Cheltenham, and we've been here ever since. But yeah, I lived in Streatham and then Streatham Common North. I lived in Tooting and Croydon. All in the sort of similar little area, really. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. It just, like I said, it's always money, isn't it? It was really very expensive. I would like to live in London even now, but it's very expensive for what we want to do. And with that lead belt to dry brush all applied, what we then do is we take a dry brush of some iron breaker, and we want to use this to hit all of the silver bits. So this is going to be this sort of intestinal trim here. We really want to kind of brighten that up, like so. But we've got all of the things like the wheels and the little joints on the frame of the chariot, got these chains, stuff like that. We want to hit it all. I've just realised that that bloody fan was going. We have to do that again. That's okay. That is okay. Don't tell anyone, chat. Don't tell anyone that this is happening. With that lead belt to dry brush all applied, what we then want to do is we want to take some iron breaker and we want to dry brush this over the top of all of the really silver bits. So this is really the intestinal trim, like this stuff around here. We've got all things like the wheels and the joints on the frame and little chains and things like that. Chat, I brought with me upstairs, just before I went live, a dairy milk chocolate bar. So I'll have that whilst we're streaming. That'll be a nice little treat as we go. A little bit of chocolate. Infuse the senses as we go. Now I had one square of it before we started, and I have since forgotten about it. And I just saw it then, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have some of that chocolate in just a second. But if you ever doubt what I'm saying about the heat up here, I need you to see this. This is what happens after an hour and 10 minutes. This is a dairy milk chocolate bar. Ready? After an hour and 10 minutes, completely melted through. I'm not making it up when I say it's hot up here. Oh. Right, we have but one choice. We must endure the long dark of Moria. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. Okay. The hard bit's nearly done. Instead of using plastic glue, just let the miniature pieces sit in the sun to stick them. Yeah? Yeah, that's a possibility. That could work. Hello, Edward. You know what I didn't change before we went live? I'm going to do this. Give you guys something to reach for. I also need to change this. 360. We are on 360 models painted. Once red is done, we'll be on 361 models painted. If we do 4 more models, then we will be done for the year. We won't be. But that will have been 1 a day, every day, for a year, is what it would have been. So we now have the rest of the year to pump those numbers. Off home to build my walls. Enjoy the stream, lads. Have fun building your walls. Enjoy it. Josh, what is your favourite chocolate? That is a really good question. My favourite chocolate. I do love just your basic Boggo dairy milk, but it's not as good as it used to be. I think if the most common chocolate bar I will pick up if I want a chocolate bar is a Mars bar. I think is my one I will go for. I'll be like, yeah, a Mars bar is a Mars bar is the one, you know. Mine is Milky Way crispy roll. What about everybody else? Favorite chocolate bar? Galaxy, strong. You know what I loved for ages? I loved Milky Ways and fudges. Back when I was a skinnier man. And then I went back to Mars bars. And the two things are not connected, I swear. I like a Malteser. I like a Malteser a lot. Reese's outrageous. Reese's are good. Reese's are good. I was telling Alice it's one of the things we used to do when we were younger as a dessert treat. My mum and dad would give us vanilla ice cream with like destroyed Maltesers sprinkled on top. So take a little bag of like fun-sized Maltesers and put them in a pestle and mortar. Really, really bash them up, and then sprinkle it over the top of a bit of vanilla ice cream. And that is a sick dessert, and it doesn't take any effort whatsoever to put together. Thoroughly recommend. 10 out of 10. Try it. Can you see how I'm glistening in the sun? Glistening in the sun. Martin, thank you very much for being a member for 27 months. Need to head off, but great to have the live streams back. See you soon. See you soon, Martin. Thank you for hanging out. And thank you for the 27 months of membership. You're a bloody legend. That is 2 years and 3 months. Well on the... You're a quarter away to your 3rd year. 7th quarter. Right. We need to do 2 more things. And then this part of it is finished. So then it's on to Reddit. I think that's looking pretty good. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? I mean, I'm keen to hear. I'm keen to hear the thoughts. So obviously it's not finished because we need to do the Balthazar gold bit. And to do that, we require brass scorpion followed by canoptic alloy. But you know, I don't think that's looking too shabby. Let's what do you think Red's favourite chocolate is? I don't think Red has a favourite chocolate. I think it's just meat. You know? And I think if you presented the ogres with, well, how about you guys try this nice Toblerone? You know? They'll be like, it's not meat, so what's the point? So, but Toblerone is crunchy enough. Very nice, but you missed a bit. What bit did I miss? If that's a joke, haha. If that's not, I need you to tell me so that it doesn't look stupid on the video. The grey bits. I see. The 4 guys we haven't got to yet. Oh, I see them. They're actually wraith bone, so they're more yellow coloured, actually, rather than grey. Get your white balance right. Red on the box has that reddish gut texture on the pot. I'm not spotting it. What are we talking about here? Tell me where I'm looking. Online from GW website. Yeah, I'm still not seeing what you're talking about. I need you to direct me. At the moment I see a silver pot. And this. Ah, fair enough. And so with that all done, our next colour is going to be some thinned down brass scorpion. And we're going to use this to relayer our Balthazar gold areas. Just avoiding the recesses or where the shade has really settled. Pow! You helped me paint my hippogriffs and now help me paint my Chaos Knights. Thanks for that, lad. That's my third unit and my second tutorial from you. Yeah, that's great. Cool. Thank you very much for using. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. It'd be cool to have that reddish tone to the gut texture. Are you talking about the recesses in the pot? Is that what you're talking about? Because we can do that. That's not a problem. Greetings, Mr. Warhipster. I'm so happy with your tutorials all about the ogres. Can you tell me the fabricator of your giant miniature painting handle is looking handsome for all the other models? I can, but you're not going to like it. The painting handles that I use are Games Workshop Mark 1s. Which, unfortunately, they don't make anymore. You might still be able to find some on eBay. I'm yet to try out their second version of the big one. But I do actually have one on the way, which is exciting. Because someone told me it was a bit like a transformer in the way it sort of opens up. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. But yeah, the painting handles I use are the Citadel first versions. Unfortunately, they don't make them anymore. Despite my many attempts at campaigning and lobbying them to do so, because it was vastly better than the second version that they made. And do you know what I learned actually very recently? It's very difficult to find a good painting handle that doesn't have some sort of expendable element or consumable element. So there's a lot of them that are like, this is the best painting handle ever, but you then have to use putty that dries out or magnets to hold the model on. And I'm like, but that's a consumable element. So that basically means painting handle is a subscription service, basically. Because you have to magnetize all of your models to, at the base at least, which I know a lot of people do, but not everybody does. And I am one of those people. I don't magnetize all of my models because I would spend an absolute bloody fortune on magnets if I did that. And same for like the goo and the putty and stuff. I would be buying a lot of it all of the time. They lasted too long, so people didn't buy new ones. Exactly. This is the. I love this. I love this handle. It doesn't go as wide as I would like. It only goes that wide. So, like on something like red them all, there is nowhere near enough. It doesn't even get to halfway of the base, right? So it means I still have to hold stuff that's on like this size of base, which is frustrating. But it does just about fit things like the Cathayan Sentinel or the Chaos Dragon. It fit the Chaos Dragon just about. And I have 7 of this size. I wish I had 10, but I don't. I have 7 of these. Kind of looks like intestines. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, alright. I know what you're talking about now. We'll do that now. Why not? I know exactly how I would do that. We need... Where are you, Mr. Berserker Bloodshade? I know you're here somewhere. You're hiding from me. Ah, you're up there. It's red on a 140mm base. No, I think it's a 160. I can't remember, though. I don't know where the instructions are. I think I binned them. It'll say on the website. Right, so we want 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we want a 1-to-1 of Berserker Bloodshade and water. And we do this, and we go back like this, and we go. And whilst we wait for all that brass scorpion to dry, the dry brush of the silver, particularly on the pot, should now be finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Berserker Bloodshade and water, and we're going to apply this inside the recesses of the intestinal trim. Just like that. The fun thing is, chat, when it's as hot as this, you don't really need to let things dry because it just does it in pretty much immediately. However, for the sake of production value, we still paint in accordance with how it would try and be when it's normal weather, which it is not right now. Here's another pro tip for you. If you use a dry palette and you want to know when your paint is dry, look at your dry palette. If it's dry on the palette, it's dry on the model. If it's almost dry on the palette, it's very, very close to being, if not already dry, on the model. And that is how you can tell if it's dry or not. Which I know might sound like I'm teaching you how to suck eggs, but I think it's a useful tip anyway. Ba-doo-doo, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. We're getting close to having to do the lamest thing I can possibly do on stream. Which is sit and line highlight lots of metal. In fact, we have reached that hallowed ground. Is there a model you would love to paint again / differently if you had the time? Maybe I would go back to all of my pre-Contrast Wave 2 stuff and have a look at some things in there. But I think they all come out looking good at the end anyway. So I'm like, I don't really kind of fancy like going back and retreading steps, as it were. Hey Josh, wanted to say that you single-handedly made me painting enjoyable for me again. Literally based my army choices on your videos. Oh, that's very kind of you, Gorilla922. I'm glad I could help. I use my fingernail as a palette. I mean, I do too. I use my entire thumb. You can tell it's been a hard week when you cannot see any skin on my thumb anymore. Check this out. There you go. It's looking good, isn't it? So now, we just need to do this. It's where the boring part of the stream happens. But Josh, all of your streams are boring all of the time. Thanks, inner voice. Right. Let's do it. And so, to finish off the cauldron assembly, what we're going to do next is we're going to take some thinned down Canoptek alloy. We're going to use this to highlight all of our brassy gold. Not so boring as a new Marvel movie. Wow, shots fired. You know what's really funny is like I was having this conversation actually with somebody the other night. I was talking about how like I watch like so the I think the streamer I probably watch the most is either Aggie or Parky. And their chats, man, are wild. And I sometimes think, like, if you guys think this is boring, you should check out youtube.com/Warhipster. Like, jeez, man. It's crazy when you watch, like, video game streamers, man. Like, you could be doing the most incredible, like, challenge run or, like, brand new game everyone's talking about or whatever. You know, you could be doing any of that. And there'll just be this plethora of people who just come in purely for the express reason to say, game looks boring. And it's like, what? Wow. Cool. Thanks for contributing to the discourse. And I'm curious as to whether... I mean, I think it happens on the... I'm curious as to whether or not I think it happens on, like, the... I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. When you watch the, like, the Games Workshop previews, I never have the chat on because it just makes me sad. You've always been a unique viewing experience. Wow. Company's put a bone there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I waste your time. You just wait. When we move and when we've built the new studio, my intention is to be able to do things like put my guitars and stuff in said new studio. And be able to start writing music again. So if you thought these streams were boring, you wait till you see me turn it on and try and make my way through some... Where I'm like, hey, we're not going to do any miniature painting today. Instead, we're going to try and do some acid funk. Or like the other day when I was like, shall I do a stream where I just spontaneously burst into singing the songs of the Lord of the Rings? And I was thinking about that in the shower. I was like, that would be funny. See if I can get the whole chat singing. Get you walking around your houses. Get you walking around the houses just going, far over the misty mountains cold. What's up, guys? In today's stream, we're going to be seeing if we can make a drum and bass track using nothing but the sounds of painting. It's funny because, like, I did my degree in music technology. Many of you would have heard this story before, but I did my degree in music technology because what I was going to be when I grew up was I was going to be a record producer. That's what I wanted to do. And then basically the music industry and the studio scene completely collapsed and has never recovered, so that was not going to be an option. And to be clear, whilst I can hold a tune and I can write a song, I am not good enough to write my own music or to make my own music consistently to a high standard that I think a lot of people would enjoy, and I am very comfortable with that. But it would be really funny to do. Actually, yeah, the point of it was what I was making is that kind of training. It's weird the times when it sort of kicks in, when you go, ooh. And for me, we spent a lot of time in like resonance and anechoic chambers and stuff, and learning about decay and like echo and reverb and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of a good reverb. One of my favorite reverbs slash echoes is in The Return of the King, when Pippin sings to the tomato monster. The echo that he has on it is just glorious, delicious. It's perfect. Sound, it just scratches my brain in the right way when you hear a really good when you hear a really good echo. And so sometimes I'll be out and about, and like I'll be somewhere, or I'll go to a new house, or go to a new like a gallery or something, and I'll be talking in it or something, and I'll hear the delay in the room. I'll hear the decay of that sound, and I'd be like, oh, do you know what would sound good in here? Home is behind, the world ahead. And I cannot tell you how many times I want to do that in various rooms. Our bathroom downstairs, really good for it. Also, the stairwell in the old sports hall at my school, in Redknock School in Dursley. Oh, it just... There are many paths to tread. It just has this lovely... You know? It's just... And when it hits, it just hits so nicely that it just, like I said, it just scratches that part of the brain that is always ever so itchy. Think of it like an ADHD stream. What's it called? Stim. You know, when it just... That's it. I've set myself up now. That's always the best song to sing when you have good reverb. I too have done this many times. Where's your... Have you got any like top 10 moments for it? Do you live with a bathroom where it's perfect? Did I actually catch you doing a live broadcast? You did. We're here, we're live. And we've just finished part 1 of Redditor the Moor. Look at that. Boom. Ew. You start your vids with just a snip of your own music. There was a time where I was doing that because I was like, yeah, this is just simpler than trying to figure out Creative Commons. And then there was a really funny time. It was about 2 years ago where there were a number of like not real record labels basically scouring SoundCloud to find tracks that people have uploaded. They would nick them and put just like the world's worst rap over it for about 30 seconds of it. And then they would copyright claim anyone who was using any of that music. So they say, look, we've got the song with the rap on it. And it happened to me with one of my tracks that was on SoundCloud, and I was like, what the actual? Because as soon as I used it, and then I was like, why am I being claimed for this from this record I've never heard of in my entire life? And it really annoyed me. But yeah, that was the thing. They probably still do it to this day, which is why one of the many reasons why I use Epidemic Sound, because if someone tries that, you just go, Epidemic Sound, someone's trying to steal your music, and they go, I'll take care of it. Bob Newhart, everybody. I'll see if I can find it now. And you can hear it. No, for God's sake. Apparently I've forgotten my own password. What? Okay, let's try that again. Go away. This happens from time to time. There was a temporary problem completing your request. Error 1001. What the actual? Nearly there. Do. No. God damn it. Do. I see, so it does work. Maybe I need to... do that. Odd. I'm almost done with my spearhead. That's exciting. You've made my night, sir. Having a crappy week and I'm now smoking. Thank you. Glad I could help. What are you listening to, dude? I'm not listening to anything at the moment. Do you have a video of you that you can recommend to watch when I want to learn something about making weapons bloody? Bloody weapons. Bloody weapons. Oh, bloody weapons. Probably, like, some of the, like, the things like the World Eaters. That will probably have some. There is also, like, a lot of blood stuff coming with the with the ogres. With the butcher and such. The Maggot Kingdom Nurgle stuff also has it, I reckon. Has some bloody things. Some bloody things. Boo 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 boo. Boo 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 boo. I think I need to update iTunes because it's been very stupid. I don't know how one would go about doing that from within the app. Non-diagnostics, why not? Next. Why not? Let's put some blues back on whilst we're doing this. Good evening, everyone. Storms are coming. Relief is on the way. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Very excited. Look, I mean, we've got pretty far with this. The next job is to do Redditor. And then it's to do the 2 acolytes. And then it's to do the Gorger at the front. The Gorgeous at the front. So it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4 step tutorial, which you would normally see next. Okay. Okay. Help. It's not that. Apple service and support. Keep bit bow. It's very odd. Oh. Did I show you guys? I didn't yet, did I? Whilst that's doing that thing. So naturally, as we already we showed them off on Monday, but here is the cleavers. So all 3 of the cleavers, they're looking pretty good. Pretty nice and spicy. Big fan. Here's what we finished off on Monday. So here's the hunters. Boom. And they're accompanying Saberfangs, which you won't have seen yet. That's what we did with them. I'm pretty pleased with how those have come out. And the butcher is over there somewhere. What spear should I do next? Cities or Sylvaneth? I think you should do Sylvaneth because it's a lot more fun than doing cities. Cities is great, don't get me wrong, but you should probably finish the Krieg before you start doing your cities. Because if you don't like doing the Krieg, you're not going to like doing the cities. How many points of ogres will this end up being? That's a good question. As it stands, I have it written down because it's not in the app yet. Ogre armies. So, if you have a Blood Pelt Hunter, a Butcher, a Grell Firefist, a Morga the Mighty, a Redditor the Maw, a Tyrant, 3 Cleavers, 2 units of 5 Gluttons, a Gorger Moorpack, Hunters with Saberfangs, Iron Guts, and a unit of Maulbeast Cavalry, which is technically everything that's new-ish. The Gorger Moorpack are quite old now, as is the Blood Pelt Hunter. So if you take them off, that's 370 points. But with all of that, it's 2,930 points. £2,930 points for all of that, and that's just one of everything except Gluttons, where there's 2. Now I haven't painted 2 units of Gluttons, so 200 points. And if you get rid of the Gorger Moorpack, that's 440. And if you get rid of the Blood Pelt Hunter, that's 570 points off. I am still 2,360 points just by having done one of everything new. What do you expect with a new edition of AOS? Fun and hijinks, basically. Greetings from Germany for the glory of Ultramar. Courage and honor. Courage and honor, brother. We march for Macragge. No. We march for Calth. It's such a good ending to a book. So good. I can't remember which one it is. Is it Mark of Calth, that one? Years later with Ventanas. It's so good. Such a good ending. What do you expect with the new edition of AOS? Honestly, like, it's very difficult to predict what's happening with Age of Sigmar at the best of times. I didn't have the ogres as on my bingo card. I had maybe they would get 1 or 2 things, not a 3,000 point army, basically. A complete rehashing. They are wonderful. I also, with Sons of Bahamut, I did not expect Sons of Bahamut to get, what's her name? Ma something? The character that they showed off, and the smaller ones that were either throwing rocks or hitting with sticks. So that's already more than I would have expected anyway. I thought maybe maybe Sons of Bahamut would get like a like a terrain piece or something like that. I didn't expect them to get anything other than that. Fire Slayers we don't know, Seraphon we don't know, and it's impossible to predict. I think Fire Slayers could either have their whole range redone in the next 3 months, or they could get one character. Same for the Seraphon. I think Seraphon could either have all of the skinks redone, for example, or they could just get a Sora Scar veteran on foot. It could be as simple as that. And so for a new edition, it's like, well, I have no idea what's going on. But presumably, the narrative lead-in, as they've done it, as they tended to do, will start in November or December, because the next edition should be next summer. So the narrative lead-in should start. So you should start seeing, like, whatever this version of it will be. 40k obviously had like 500 worlds, and then it had Maelstrom, and then it had Lords of Iron or whatever it was. So maybe AOS will go down that route. I don't know if it will, because I think the narrative storytelling arc actually works for Age of Sigmar, because it always moves the timeline forward and moves us into whatever the big bad is going to be of the next edition. We're obviously in a chaos theme with Skaven at the moment. As it stands, we've had chaos, followed by death, followed by destruction, followed by chaos. So I would go out on a limb and say that the next edition will be some form of death, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We shall have to see. There is a whole thing in Age of Sigmar about the realms being cyclical, about how out of order comes chaos, out of chaos comes death, and out of death comes destruction, and out of destruction comes order, and that's the life cycle of the realms. That each one has that they're seasonal in many ways. That's how the ages come. So like you're not going to have order versus order, because I think that's too confusing. For selling it from a standpoint. But yeah, I don't know. But there we go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to a reasonable stopping place for now. So we are probably going to wrap things up there, because it is 11:15, which means it is late. The hour goes late, in which this painter chooses to appear. Warhipster the Grey. Ill news is ill guessed. Hour of the Nighthawk, maybe. Or a new set of death. Could see new death. Death only has 4 factions, 5 factions. Soulblight, Ossiarch, Flesh-Eat Courts, Nighthaunt. Did I say Ossiarch? It doesn't have very much. It is the diddiest. Yeah, 4. Flesh-Eater Courts, Nighthaunt, Ossiarch, and Soulblight. So only 4 death factions. So you could see a 5th. Could see a new one. Who knows? Nobody knows. How can you sleep after that Coca-Cola? The simple answer to that, Lisu 3000, is that I will not be going to bed for at least another 5 hours. Just because I'm leaving the stream and leaving you guys to the rest of your evenings does not mean that I will stop. I will continue on, and it will continue to get cooler, and maybe the storm shall finally arrive up overhead. Maybe. Here's hoping. My God, you are a Necron. Yeah, yep. Or just somebody with undiagnosed insomnia with a YouTube channel that constantly demands its attention and content. Because otherwise, it's all over, baby. Anyway, Where are you from? I am from Cheltenham. Well, that's where I live. I live in Cheltenham. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go because it's 11:15 and I want to go and be cold downstairs for about 5 minutes before I continue on with Reddit. So I will see you later. We will be back live on Monday and we will be live on Wednesday next week if this weather finally sorts its life out. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We should be back to normal very, 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 very soon. I will try and get Red done. Tomorrow there will be a painting video for your perusal. It will be either the Butcher, the Cleavers, or the Hunters. It will not be Red, because he will not be done tonight. There is still a long way to go on him. But we've done a big bit. So, I will see you all in a bit. See you next week. If I don't see you before then, have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Love you, chat. Bye!